Video game flash fiction. This is a timed writing game when within 90 minutes I'm going to select one of these Atari 2600 cartridges randomly, write a flash fiction story, read it at the end. The time is going. Let's go ahead and select that game. We got some columns and rows. We got a 1 to 6 column. I got a 6-sided dice. We got column 2. Now from top to bottom, we got 6 rows. I'll roll the 6-sided dice again. 3. So we have for today's video game flash fiction story inspiration, because I will not be using any of this intellectual property to create the story, just the sights and sounds. Okay, well, we'll see if it goes. For today's game to inspire video game flash fiction, we have something called Donkey Kong Jr. There is the front. If I can at least get the focus, the light, yeah. Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. may or may not end up in a book like this book right here, just released recently, Homebrew Revolution, inspired by video game flash fiction. Donkey Kong Jr. has a lot of intellectual property coming in on this. Let's see if the game works. Oh, the game does work. Well, let's see now. I do recall playing this in the arcade as well as on the Atari 2600. At least my introduction to Donkey Kong Jr. was, well, you're looking at it. Yeah, we'll enjoy those sights and sounds just a little bit. Okay. Wow, what a noise. Oh, I'm dead. I can't jump that far, so I think I have to go all the way down. So let's try this again. They got like little mouth things that come down the rope. I'm dead. Man, that sound of me dying is a little bit disturbing. Okay, so I mean, I kind of look like an ape, a small one, that's for some reason needs to... Okay, so then I think I can go over on this one. I gotta hurry though. All right, I think I'm almost there. Hey, I did it. Okay, so... Oh, this is, I just kind of like, for the sake of... Yeah, I remember this. I think I go down faster if it's just one. There's a lot going on that I need to avoid. Like a bird. Oh, come on now. Don't make me start all over, though. Or am I dead? I'm dead. So I just noticed I've played this game before. And this sort of looks like each of the levels, at least the first 2, are reminiscent of the first Mario game, Donkey Kong. I don't know if that was the first. I can't remember if Mario Brothers came first because they were plumbers in Mario Brothers. I don't even know. So if I were to rip out all the intellectual property, I would maybe come to the conclusion that I'm playing an ape. And that there's some dude that seems to be having gel for some reason at the top of a platform with ropes hanging down. I don't even. I mean, Donkey Kong. Unless I were to riff off of the story. What book is that in? I think I got Donkey Kong in this book here. Yes. I think I don't know. Like, I can't even remember that story that's in there, Donkey Kong, and how I rode away from the intellectual property of, well, Donkey Kong. Some weird simulation happening in a. I don't. It was weird, and I see why, because I don't. What's the backstory? Why you're trying to save? I guess, like, and then there's like these little mechanical alligator mouths that come down the ropes. Good. I know they can kill you. Oh, and I'm dead because I didn't jump. Let me get a file open because this is a little difficult. I really want to write about Donkey Kong Jr. and be like some fan fiction, but we can't do that. So it's Donkey Kong Jr. I hope that's how you spell Junior. It's right there, right? Yeah. Way to go, Coleco. All right, ColecoVision. Your port to the Atari 2600. It was much better looking when you had the ColecoVision console, which wasn't that popular. It seemed like the people who had the ColecoVisions also had the Betamax versus the VHS. I don't know what that really means, or there's the data to back that up if it's true. It's more than just a couple people I knew had a Betamax and a ColecoVision. Actually, I only knew one person, and they had a Betamax and ColecoVision. Did not have the VHS nor the Atari 2600. Most of the neighborhood had the Atari 2600 if they had a gaming console. 1, 2, 3, 4, including us, 5. And then there's one person with the ColecoVision. Better graphics. The Smurfs game I remember playing there on the ColecoVision, having never played the Atari 2600 one until I played it for Video Game Flash Fiction. I was rather disappointed. But it made for a great story. The ColecoVision was just better. But this Atari 2600 version of Donkey Kong Jr. to write a story that's void of intellectual property, I'm having trouble imagining another ridiculous reason why you're this. You do look like an ape, so give. Kind of got that like walk that you would think a young ape has, I guess. I don't know too many. Okay, jump, go up, hit on this platform. Now go all the way down. I think you can go quicker this way. And then hopefully, I don't want to do that. I can't see right now. There we go. All right, so we climb up to the top here. Oh, whew. Jump over. All right, then jump, go up. Come on, come on. All right. What's that story? Why is there some dude? Oh, I need to think about this. Man, I got to get rid of this handle. Is melted on the bottom. Donkey Kong Jr. What was the name of the main character in the book? What was it about? I'm going to use that as inspiration. I can lift from my own intellectual property story. We just got to find the story in here. This is the first, the ones with the craziest stories, probably. Mega Boom Boom Donkey Kong. Joe longs for Kong to be mindful while Joe knows Patty trains Kong to be vengeful. The DARPA-funded research develops mind implants. My God. I think Joe... Did Joe end up being... God, what the hell was I thinking? And Joe follows, feeling a little vengeful but mindful of it. So Kong and Patty... I don't even know what the hell I was writing. It's a weird story. But it comes from a weird inspiration. Like, what the hell? Let's see if I can get... Now, this represents the second level of... That wasn't fair. Like, of Donkey Kong. The first one. That you had to, like, remove these keys from the floor and it fell down. And now you've got to... You're still in the environment, so this person's, like, taken over. But I don't know that. I'm just using these sights and sounds for a story. I'm just having a difficult time with these alligator jaws that are going everywhere. So you have this dude dressed in red with these machines with mouths. And I just landed on one and it bit my foot. And I just lost. Like, what the hell? It's story time. You're a young ape. Unemployed. What's Donkey Kong Jr., though? Junior's going to imply that you're the... It already gives you the story, like Kong Jr., Donkey Kong. Like, what the hell? God, what the hell? How the hell did I... I don't even want to think of the past story. Donkey Kong Jr. Maybe those little jaws are, like, inspired by donkeys' mouths. The side of a Donkey Kong. I don't understand the Kong and the Junior part. Like, how am I going to play this in? If I didn't know who Donkey Kong was, nor Donkey Kong Jr., who's now, one of the primary characters of the Donkey Kong world, having been created many years ago. Nearly 40, more than 40. How old is this game? So at least 40-ish years ago. And that's not Mario up there. That'd be like, maybe they're just Junior. Maybe it could be like Donkey Kong, Junior. That's not how the name works, though. I mean, because you would assume if you had the Junior name, then that person's name is Donkey Kong that's coming up to save their dad, which is the story. Makes more sense than the other one, other than it also being inspired by King Kong. Like, I get where King Kong comes, but Donkey Kong Jr., I don't want to go. I can't use intellectual property. It's too tightly coupled with the story. But at least give me. And then some dude at the top of this tower. Is this going to be like a game show? No, I mean, you could be a game show if I were to like want to write that route, but that'd even be hard because who's going to be your game show? And then like I've done, especially with the original video game flash fiction, like experiments, like DARPA. Like I literally have DARPA in that story. Like what am I thinking? What was I thinking? Dark times, maybe the weird ones. I will probably come out with one called Video Game Flash Fiction IP for all these stories with intellectual property written out, if I can do this one. I'm going to look over at the nice E.T., and I've done E.T. It's a story about Elliot Turner, but it was a Nepo alien who gets privileges because they're alien. This is what it feels like to have writer's block. I got like 15 hour and 15 minutes left. I forced myself to do this. I think the person definitely like, I think that's a guy. There's that hint of the supposed mustache to separate the nose and the mouth and make it more like a face. If I were to step into this looks like a dude, especially with the stomach. If it was a female gendered pixel icon, it'd be skinnier likely. Very likely. Just a big thing bouncing. Whoa. That's all of a sudden. Maybe they're at the zoo. Maybe that's a story about they're at the zoo. I don't need to do any Pango type of like. They're just at the zoo. I don't have to bring too much dystopia into it, even though zoos are a little depressing. Some of them are a lot more depressing than others, especially when you see like the rats infesting things. I'm looking at you, National Zoo, which I'm sure is even more depleted than it was during the past. I've already wrote a thing on that called Pango. I think it's inside of Video Games Flash Fiction Sports. Let's just do that. I guess you could get a little bit dystopian. Why not? I mean, you got like what are the alligator heads though? Like that's like I was just thinking like this could be we could again gamify zoo life. The Donkey Kong, I don't know where the Donkey Kong Jr. comes. I gotta like it can't be the if I were to look at this, I'd think it's the character you're controlling. Donkey Kong. What if I did something like this? It's like a saying. As the new hip kids say. As a diss. Is it two S's on diss? Dissuaded? Dysfunction? Disassociation? I feel dissed. Donkey Kong Jr. is the new hip kids. They call him hip. That infers, is infers the right word I'm looking for? That labels you less of a monkey. As a big ape. A lesser big ape. I don't know how this is going to go. How do I get Donkey Kong Jr. into this? Be something. Could say as a diss that labels you as a big ape. Demeans you by Donkey Kong Jr., the kids say, as a diss that labels you as a lesser big ape, no better than a donkey, and further demeans you by making your name. Whoa. There is that sound right there. Let's reset that so I can get the beautiful graphics up. Maybe we'll just see how long it takes for this, I don't know. We'll see. Further demeans you by making, I just got to think of the way to put Donkey Kong into an intellectual property free story. Donkey Kong Jr. says the kids say as a diss that labels you as a lesser big ape, no better than a donkey, and further demeans you by making your name something given to you by your equally primordial? No, not primordial. You're equally incompetent. Parent. We'll say parent. I don't know how, Donkey Kong. I don't know what. It's an ungendered name. Something people. Well, I mean, it is a gendered name now due to intellectual property and, primary character being Donkey Kong and Mel. But in this world, it's not. All right, so I have at least how I'm going to maybe use Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr., but now I got to think of why this story exists, because I'm this little ape that climbs up these ropes. And there are these machines that some dude at the top is releasing that are just mouths and will bite you as you're climbing to unlock a thing. To someone that could arguably, yes, probably be in relations, especially with a name like Junior, and that sucks. I die. Let's go back to writing this story. Now that I've died. So you make your name something given to you by your equally animal-like parent. Maybe maybe the dude on top's Donkey Kong Jr. I'm really trying not to go too dystopian, but I mean, you're an animal climbing ropes, trying not to die to unlock another animal. It's kind of dystopian a little bit. And there's this dude that's releasing them on top of this structure to kill you and prevent you from freeing some other caged animal that seems similar to you. So there's got to be a relationship there. And the only way that could really exist is if it was like some... Oops, the cord in the way. It is. Alt reality. This is going to be hard. I'm having a hard time pulling away from... So Donkey Kong Jr., the kids say, is a diss that labels you as a lesser big ape no better than a donkey and further demeans you by making your name something given to you by your equally animal-like parent. I guess this is just the training. Says, what's this dude's name? He's Elliot. Standing on top of the graded floor. I mean, you're pretty at least aware enough as this Donkey Kong Jr. insult. I mean, maybe they're testing. I think that's what it is. Spanning their training arena. I mean, that's, I guess it's now a trope, maybe. For me, at least. The trope of some story to train a thing that thinks it has agency to do a specific task, and then to realize that at the end that it doesn't have agency and it's just a program. Like, we could be bullshitting our own selves right now, whether we have agency or not. Many of us do, day in and day out. I do. And I'm not the only one, likely. Going back to the trope, and then writing back to this story, I gotta have Elliot stands on top of the graded training arena with ropes. All right, an hour left. Hanging to the floor. Hanging to platforms. Floating on a pool as wide as I mean, this is, see, if it didn't look like, they definitely got the sitting down, and it's not close, so I can't exactly say that this is like some person, human. All right, here we go. I mean, I think I'm special, but that one's easy. And I guess the same story could play out for this one. My enthusiasm for this story is diminishing rapidly. It's becoming confusing. So don't be a Donkey Kong Jr., says Elliot, standing on the top of the graded floor, spanning their training arena with ropes hanging to platforms floating on the pool as wide as a warehouse. It's a lot. The genetically altered, enhanced, or enhanced. I always get this word wrong. Enhanced. I don't know. My mind right now just can't decide. Fortunately for me, there are search and return engines that will help me out right now with enhanced. Enhanced ape monkey. We just call out ape. It kind of looks ape-like. Kong, I could go there. Genetically enhanced body and mind of the genetically enhanced ape body and mind of ape 5F. Watches from below and sees what's up with the ape? I guess the training to go save other apes? That's where I'm lost. So the genetically enhanced ape body and mind of ape 5F watches from below and sees Elliot. Release like machines with mouths. Like that's uh-oh. See, there's like little alligator mouths. Let's get past this. Oh, come on. I didn't mean to do that. Why do I have to grab it with both hands initially? That's just not... I gotta start over? That's just not fair. I clear 3 keys and then I die and I have to do it again. Alright. Oh, fudge. One more time. And then it gets stabbed in the back by the bird. Come on. Yeah. I think I'm only going to be able to write one scene for this flash fiction story because it's going all over the place, trying to have it be intellectual property free. And so we got the genetically enhanced ape body and mind of ape 5F watches from below and sees Elliot release of, I want to say like an alligator snapper. I mean, like, logically, like the mechanics of these things that they're releasing, or look like they're releasing, don't make a whole lot of sense. But let's try to make sense of it. Chompers, and maybe they slither. They just kind of like roll along, and they climb down and chomp their way down. Like I'm going to get chomped on right now. Sounds like a sound from the game Pitfall too when you get hit. The genetically enhanced ape body and mind of watches from below and sees Elliot release. Walking chompers. Yeah, we'll just not dwell on a name right now. Walking chompers. I mean, like, how would you climb? I mean, you just like throw nano out there. The genetically enhanced a body and mind. Walking chompers like alligator. With tiny fibers that let walk it over the floor or climb down a vine. The genetically enhanced ape body and mind of ape 5F watches from below and sees Elliot release walking chompers like alligator mouths with tiny fibers. Call it chompers, like alligator mouths with tiny fibers that walk it over the floor, climb it down a vine. Any living creature. Five S knows the chompers looks across the warehouse floor with floating platforms below ropes. A few platforms. It feels fear in connection to the ape. I don't know where this story's going. It's crazy. A little bit too crazy for my good, but we'll see where it goes. Donkey Kong Jr., not trying to do the intellectual property of Donkey Kong Jr. Feels the fear and connection of the ape. Like, what is this purpose? Let's go ahead and play this just a little bit. I've got some vague, lame backstory for this. It does look like an ape. I'm going to go climb here. I'm going to avoid the chompers. Oh, come on now. That chomper was so far away from me right there. Ape 5F did not touch that chomper. I'm not going to try to define why they have many lives. See where that chomper goes right there. Oh, fudge you. I did not want to fall. Ape 5F is almost dead. Oh, of course. I gotta wait. Gotta wait for the chompers. There we go. Now I can maybe make it. Come on. Jump. There we go. There we go. Get away. Jump. 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 There we go. Boom. Avoided the chompers. Freed. But then it's just a never-ending game. They never let you stop. Oh, why do you have to... That's not cool. Yeah, I lost. So Ape 5F training teaches that the larger ape in the cage above the human trainer Elliot is Ape 1. Yeah. Taunts Elliot. From above. While he pulls from a box of chompers. Another chomper. And presses its power button and releases it. The chomper senses its target. Smell and sight. And tries to predict the path of 85F. The chomber, I should probably put a P. Let's do this. Where's there we go. Chomper. The chomper senses his target and smell and sight and tries to predict. Maybe this is all about the chomper development. Not really about you or this ape, but really about the chompers. I mean, this would fit back into the DARPA story for sure. I could probably use the name Joe, and that'd be just as equally as good as Elliot. The chomper senses its target smell and sight and tries to predict the path to 85F. God, this sucks. Kind of. Is 45 more minutes going to make it something good? Maybe. I'm going to give it the time. Can I make it about the chomper? The chomper senses its target smell and sight. Its targets senses its targets. Let's put an apostrophe there and let's possess that target to have a smell and sight. And tries to predict the path of 85F. The chomper senses its target's smell and sight and tries to predict the path. I'm going to read that about 20 times. Let's not. Let's get that chord out of the way too. Maybe if I did this, so if I went boom. Maybe we'll do it, Joe. Joe. What's the name of it? I'm going to do that. Let's make this fun. I'm going to do a sequel to this flash fiction story, but just use the names just to move it along. And it was originally the Donkey Kong one in the first video game flash fiction book. On sale, of course, through Apple and Amazon right now, and other distributions are being worked at. If you go to RetroCon and I'm there, I sell it. But I need to find the story Donkey Kong. The first books, yes, intellectual property. So they got it. So Joe, while Joe knows Patty, trains Kong to be vengeful. DARPA funded D&K. Okay. D&K Labs was what it was called. The DARPA funded D&K Labs. A corporate takeover. I think I'm going to just have Joe do a corporate takeover. Add a little bit of flavor, as well as a little intellectual property free backstory of a story that I wrote inspired by the game before this called Donkey Kong. Controls D&K Labs. The DARPA funded bot control of the DARPA funded would it be WARPA these days? Because it's like Defense Agency Research. I forgot what the P is. Since it's the war, would it be WARPA? Anyway, Joe bought control over the DARPA funded D&K Labs. And what was the name of in here? This was Kong and Patty, from Patty. So Patty and Kong. So in spite and full of vengefully bought control. Vengefully, that sucks, but vengefully do something vengefully. Bought control of the DARPA funded DK Labs and Patty and Kong, who tried to train Joe to be enlightened. but instead became vengeful. Strength of an ape, but mind of a human. And I was going to have this insult. So Donkey Kong Jr., he says as a diss, Joe says, as a diss that labels you as a lesser big ape, no better than a Donkey Kong, and further demeans you. So I have it being second person that you're the Donkey Kong here, and then I go first, second person. That's terrible. Don't be a Donkey Kong Jr. Maybe I could go second person. I'd have to do it in this paragraph right here. So eventually bought control of the DARPA-funded DK Labs from Patty and Kong, who tried to train Joe to be enlightened, but instead taught Joe to be vengeful. Whoa. That's a sound. Got 38 minutes left. Let's go ahead and get some visuals on what this game looks like. So we have Donkey Kong Jr. says Joe as a diss. Began like a game. And diss from Joe to incite rage. Incite rage? Or is it incites rage? While you stand on a floating platform in a warehouse, in a training warehouse. Poof, man, I don't know. I'm not sure how I wrote the first story. I don't think I'd write that story. I wouldn't write that story again. We're testing chompers today. Your life began today. Your awareness. I don't know where this is going. Below in seas. You look across the warehouse floor with floating platforms below, ropes and a few platforms hanging from the ceiling while chompers bite their way down. This is going somewhere, maybe. Maybe not. Your path. Climb a rope. And leap in time. You leap from rope to rope. I don't know. Struggling with this story to care. It's way too abstracted. Am I really, yeah. Making a flash fiction story is a little bit difficult, especially when this is a game and you want it to be intellectual property free. You try to climb a rope to chain to the dangling platform and leap and miss the chomper. Let's get less words. Scurrying down, you run and leap from the rope to rope, and slide down to a platform being chased by a chomper. You feel the chomp nip your heel as you leap and climb to another rope. I got Elliot or Joe. I think I got Joe. I gotta change this name. I'm gonna go with Joe. All right, well, maybe that's what I want. Not really. I want a better story. Oh, fudge you. Come on. You leap to another Chomper slips on his sweaty hands and hits the floor. You feel the connection bond. Feel you must free. Drops a chomper and runs. I don't know. Story is out there. More out there than I appreciate, to be honest with you. Let's go with these sounds right here. Let's try to climb this. So this would be, you're 856, was it? I don't know. The story is lost. It's got words. I don't even know. Makes no sense. Story's lost. Can I fix it? I mean, you start with Joe vengefully bought control of the DARPA-funded DK labs from Patty and Kong, who tried to train Joe to be enlightened, but instead taught Joe to be vengeful against Kong. Joe watches. Yeah, I'm gonna read it. Only because that's what I do. It's I have to admit, much easier at times writing a video game flash fiction story with intellectual property, not so tightly bound to the creatures you're writing about, but also in a setting that can be actually used for a normal, yeah, I don't. Then you get into these gamey type of stories that may not make a whole lot of sense. Probably don't in hindsight, being 2020. But I don't know if I could really rewrite this to be better. It's lacking a lot of things. Donkey Kong Jr. It has the game mechanics, at least, of Donkey Kong Jr., the Atari 2600 game, but I'm going to read it. What's the conflict, I guess, is set up. Your birth into the world began like a game, and a diss from Joe to incite the rage. I'm going to do it. I'm going to read it. I don't know, 22 minutes. Is it going to... I could debate it a little bit longer. If I were to rate this story, I'd rate it very low today. Let's just read it. No matter how terrible it is, I can't. Given time, I think it'd be more frustrating spending this trying to fix it. I don't know if it's fixable. Let's read it aloud, and then I can critique it and decide. For today's video game flash fiction story, inspired by the game Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. Joe eventually bought control of the DARPA-funded DK labs from Patty and Kong, who tried to train Joe to be enlightened, but instead taught Joe to be vengeful against Kong and Patty and their genetic creations with the strength of an ape but minds of a human. Your birth into the world began like a game, and a diss from Joe to incite rage while you stand on a floating platform in a training warehouse. Donkey Kong Jr., Joe says as a diss that labels you as a lesser big ape no better than donkey, and further demeans you by making your name something given to you by your equally lesser-like parent. And that parent is proud. We're testing chompers today. Your awareness began today. You know you should avoid to be chomped. Don't be a Donkey Kong Jr., says Joe, standing on top of the graded floor spanning the training arena, with ropes hanging to the platforms floating on pool as wide as the warehouse. Your genetically enhanced ape body and mind as Ape 5F watches from below and sees Elliot release chompers like alligator mouths with tiny fibers that walk it over the floor or climb it down a vine. Chompers chase and chew any living creature. You look across the warehouse floor with floating platforms below ropes and a few platforms hanging from the ceiling while chompers bite their way down the ropes and fill the platforms. Ape 5F's training teaches it that the larger ape in the cage above the human trainer, Elliot, Joe, is Ape 1. It feels fear and connects with Ape 1 after weeks of Joe training them to climb. Come on, Donkey Kong Jr., taunts Joe from above while he pulls from a box of chompers another chomper and presses its power button and releases it. The chomper senses its target's smell and sight and tries to predict your path. You climb a rope to the dangling platform and leap and miss the chomper scurrying down. You run and leap from rope to rope and slide down the platform being chased by chompers. You feel a chomper nip your heel as you leap and climb another rope. Joe laughs, Donkey Kong Jr., loser, and presses the red buttons on the tip of the chompers. You leap to another dangling platform and begin to climb 2 ropes to a hole. Joe sweats and watches you climb. A chomper slips from his sweaty hands and hits the floor. Joe looks at Ape 1 in the cage, who begins to rattle and shout at you, Ape, Ape, Ape. You feel connection and bond, and you feel you must free the one in the cage, Ape 1. You leap over the chomper and run at Joe, and Joe drops the chomper and runs away from the rope, climbing to the trained Ape 1. Deep inside your soul, you feel a goal, a mission about to be complete. You land on the platform with the caged Ape 1 and rip open the door. Joe watches Ape 1 beat you while he says, Donkey Kong Jr. I don't know about that story. It could probably be shoehorned, if I was going to use that term, jammed, whatever you want to call it, into a story that could make sense and might want to be read, but it ain't there yet. And now I question the Donkey Kong story that I have in the first video game flash fiction book. It is dense and kind of convoluted, but fun, I suppose. Trying to pull away the intellectual property and create a story within this weird world of Donkey Kong Jr. had its challenges and still does, as I try to wonder what the hell I just wrote. I do have time left, 17 minutes, but I don't think that 17 minutes is going to allow me to rewrite the story as much as I need to. Sure, there are mistakes, and those mistakes may or may not be edited or fixed. They may or may not appear in a video game flash fiction book for, well, not every story here works out. But a story was had and a game was played and thoughts were until those next thoughts and until the next game. Find a way to write.